National Park is one of 17 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. We're heading there to admire the vista. Banff. Let's start from the very beginning. And yes, I'm going to share some information about prices. Hope you'll find it useful. You can arrive to Banff by car, by train, or by an aircraft. This is what we did. And yes, masks were required at the airport building. We have rented a car which cost us 842 Canadian dollars, which included additional Optimer services as damage protection. This was an optional service, but we prefer to have the car damage coverage just in case. We have arrived to airport of Calgary, the city of 1988 Winter Olympics. Saying about Calgary. It is a city in the Western Canadian province of Alberta. And this is how the room of 4-star hotel may look. This is a nice unit with a nice sunset included. Alberta becomes a province in 1905. Calgary, a cosmopolitan Alberta city with numerous skyscrapers, owes its rapid growth to its status as the center of Canada's oil industry. However, it's still steeped in Western culture that earned it the nickname Cow Town. As per CNN Travel, Canada is a winner, the overall country, the world's most livable cities for 2022. The Great White North had 3 of these cities, represents Toronto, Vancouver, and yes, you got it, Calgary. Moving on, we're heading Canmore to our resort. Let's have a quick look of it. We have paid for 5 nights staying 1,240 Canadian dollars. The stay was amazing in the 1-bedroom unit with kitchen and laundry, mountain view, and coniferous air. There is also underground garage parking and, of course, a hot tub. After 2 years of ups and downs, the mountains are busier than ever here. Here, at where Canadian Rockies are, and we are so excited to cut Little Mountain down, and we're excited to slice of the world. We were excited to be surprised by our adventure. This is a great example of it, the wildlife crossing bridge. Banff Town. Now time to see Banff Village or a town of Banff, whatever name you prefer the best. Banff Town is something to experience before you die. For those who have been or locals who live it, no explanation is necessary. For the rest of you, this place is worth to visit. This is a resort town in province of Alberta, located within Banff National Park. The peaks of Mountain Rundle and Mountain Cascade, part of the Rocky Mountains, dominate Banff skyline. The Canadian Rockies are known for mountain adventure, but they are also known for unpredictable weather, so shouldn't a rainy day or a summer storm ruin your best laid plans. We can always get the gear we need to get outside, right here at Banff. On Banff Avenue, where we are now, is the main thoroughfare, boutiques and restaurants with mixed Chateau-style hotels and souvenir shops. Here, you can rock the heart. The surrounding 6,500 square kilometers of parkland are home to wildlife, including elks and grizzly bears. A recent issue of the local newspaper published a photo with thundering grizzly bear just in downtown Banff. Just be aware to share the road when you see a grizzly bear. The townsite Banff is located in some of the best wildlife habitat of the Canadian Rockies. The national park landscape, before you include species such as the tiny Banff spring snail, found nowhere else in the world, as well as the large mammals such as elk, sheep, cougar, wolves, black and grizzly bears. Banff was a common ground for hunting and foraging in the abundant wilderness and also for trading with one another. When the Canadian Pacific Railway was completed in 1885, Canada achieved its dream of becoming a single country connected from Atlantic to Pacific. At that time, the government of Canada was only 18 years old. The Canadian Pacific Railway merely a fledgling corporation. How would they recover the enormous cost of building this ribbon of steel across thousands of kilometers of wilderness? With hot spring and spectacular scenery in the Banff area, tourism revenue became the answer. General Manager of Canadian Pacific Railway at this time was William Cornelius Van Horn, an American with flair for making a financial success of railway ventures. Quick to recognize the tourism potential of the area and his railway line, Van Horn is reported to have exclaimed, "Since we can't explore the scenery, we'll have to import the tourist." Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel. Sir William Cornelius Van Horn was the inspiration behind the building of Canadian Pacific Railway and its Grand Railway hotels. After the completion of the Banff Spring in June 1888, Van Horn knew that he had built a magnificent castle in the Canadian Rockies. When the hotel opened in June 1888, rates were $350 Canadian per night. Touring was a highly fashionable pastime for the well-heeled, And with the opening of the Banff Springs, it became clear the Canadian Pacific Railway had opened one of the grandest hotels on the continent, offering exquisite service and hospitality. What makes this spot hot? Beautiful natural sights that are easily accessible not by car, but in most cases by public transportation. You can get a bird's eye view of 6 mountain ranges from the top of Sulphur Mountain. The Banff gondola will effortlessly carry you to the top of Southport Mountain. On the next day, we are heading Lake Louise. You have to purchase a ticket to enter the park. For our family of 3, we had paid $84 for 4 days. The parking at the Lake Louise is not big enough for those who wakes up late. Guess who I mean? But fortunately, there is an alternative way to get there. We are accessing Lake Louise by the Parks Canada Shuttle Public Transit, and we left our vehicle behind. The emerald waters of the Lake Louise are a stunning highlight to any Rockies staying. Lake Louise has quite the history of being a place frequented by indigenous peoples, a railway outpost, and a tourist destination. Lake Louise is a glacier lake by origin, temperature, and color. Because of the ice, we could not demonstrate the true blue color of Lake Louise, but have a look at Barrier Lake. Same color. Meltwaters from 6 glaciers at the head of this valley feed the lake. Not surprisingly, the water is cold, less than 10 degrees in summer. The lake can be frozen from November to June. In midwinter, the ice can be more than a meter thick. This lake is 70 meters deep. The glaciers here grind the rock beneath them into fine powder, called rock flour. Meltwaters wash this powder into the lake. The resultant silty water absorbs all colors of incoming light, except the striking turquoise and vivid blue that reflects back to our eyes. Visitors find many ways to enjoy the lake. Avalanche danger is this vicinity from November to June, so it's better to avoid red-marked area. The first chalet was built on the shore of Lake Louise in 1890, but the first visitors likely arrived 10,000 years earlier. Aboriginal people have lived in the Rocky Mountains since the retreat of the Ice Age glaciers. they likely visited this lake on hunting and spiritual journeys. When newcomers arrived in the Rockies, they valued the guiding skills of Aboriginal people. In August 1882, while camped in Bow Valley, Tom Wilson, a horsebacker for Canadian Pacific Railway Survey, heard the roar of a distant avalanche. Edwin Hunter, a Stoney Indian, told him it came from Snow Mountain above the Lake of the Little Fishes. The next day, Edwin led Tom to this lake. Tom was the first native person to see it. Impressed by its color, he called it Emerald Lake. In 1884, the lake became known as Lake Louise in honor of Princess Louise Caroline Alberta, the fourth daughter of Queen Victoria. Late spring like now, most rock flour settles to the bottom of the lake over the winter. The few particles still suspended create an intense blue. Large number of people using the Lake Louise area can create conflicts with wildlife, and animals may not be able to use suitable habitat. Parks Canada strive to manage this area for the benefit of both people and wildlife. We can help. We ask please do not disturb wildlife or travel off official trails. Vermont Chateau Lake Louise. This is renovated hotel had its origins in a simple log chalet by the Canadian Pacific Railway in 1890. Early guests, including some pioneers of mountaineering in the Northern Rockies, followed a pack horse trail from the station. The advent of the automobile in 1929 and a renewed and enlarged chateau brought even increasing number of travelers from around the world to the shores of this famous lake. The Rockies rock in all seasons, which is why you can't go wrong whenever you choose to visit. Today is a warm and sunny day, which is why we are going to hit the hikes. Johnston Canyon is one of the most popular attractions in Banff National Park. People have been coming here since the early 90s to discover the power of water and how it has been shaped this landscape. During the summer, we can feel canyons freeze and its cool spray. In the winter, marvel in its frozen wonder. Trailblazers. Only a small path meandered up the valley of the lower falls when Walter Camp purchased the Johnston Canyon, the tea house, in 1927. 7 log and pole bridges crossed the stream along the way. Exploring farther upstream in 1929, Walker and Margaret Kemp discovered 6 more waterfalls. Soon, a horse trail was created to the upper falls, the biggest of them all. As the canyon's attractions became known wider and sturdier bridges were needed, in 1974, Parks Canada began replacing the well-worn wooden bridges with steel and concrete catwalks. Almost 1 million people pass through this canyon each year by. There is also an ink pause, 5.7 kilometers one way. You should claim 330 meters there. It's a high-cap forest trail to shallow pools that bubble up from beneath the ground, frequently used by horseback riders. Way to Athabasca Glacier, with all its surprises. There is a sense of mystery and allure of the mountains that calls to the heart of the adventurers. Can you guess one of the main reasons for us to be here? Of course, we are here to enjoy the views of the Rocky Mountains and a wildlife. And here you go, the first acquaintance. I was convinced every one of them must be insane. Case in point, the few wild animals you might encounter are those who are most likely to eat you. We were lucky to meet this brave guy. He has no interest towards us for his dinner. I have checked. Yes, we are in a bear country and we are not eaten by him. Does he look interested in us at all? I don't think so. He does not look happy when we are chasing him. The travelers, those who are doing this video, who drove to Athabasca Glacier and by surprise found themselves penetrating in a bear territory. My wish came true. Is this real at all? So there is nothing better than Rocky Mountains except for Rocky Mountains with its real wild residents. Yes, it was a reality because exactly 5 minutes later we have met another local resident. Well, 2 of them. We felt like we were in a zoo. There were 2 sheep and a goat. Every year, thousands of visitors arrive, each seeking their own adventure. For most, this means a ride on a snow coach right out onto the Athabasca Glacier. For others, it can mean joining the licensed guide to explore the glacier features. And for a few who are expert in the sport, it means rising before dawn to climb to the summit of Mountain Athabasca or Mount Andromeda. The Little Ice Age. The Columbia icefield and its glaciers have grown and shrunk with the ice ages. In the last 250,000 years, glaciers have covered most of Canada several times. The Columbia icefield is one of the last surviving remnants of this time. The last significant advance of glaciers in the Rockies was the Caval Advance, also called the Little Ice Age. This advance reached its maximum extent between 1840 and 1860. At the peak of this era, that Athabasca Glacier was about 2 kilometers longer than it is today. The mountains are holding their own secret. They are warming up. This change is melting glaciers in changing the lake landscapes both here and far downstream, as many ecosystems depend on the freshwater reserves stored in the ice of the Canadian Rockies. This does not mean all hope is lost. Many businesses in the Rockies are stepping up for the landscapes they love, and they showcasing the fragile beauty of the Canadian Rockies while promoting efforts to save it. What do you think happened to this forest in the left side? Please feel free to share your comments. This is my new channel and I'm asking for your support. Please subscribe to the channel and share this video with others. Your like will also help. Well, I do hope that you like it indeed. Banff National Park is an important place for people to connect with history and nature. Cave and Basin is a great example of demonstrating it. To enter there, we purchased additional tickets. Indigenous people have been using the lands and water for millennia, for sustenance, ceremony, trade, and travel. First protected from development in 1885, 20 years before Alberta became a province, the Cave and Basin area made up the core of Banff National Park, Canada's first national park. Spectacular scenery, abundant wildlife, fresh mountain air, and the hot springs heated deep beneath the Rocky Mountain draw visitors from near and far. The cave. As you walk through dimly lit tunnel, try to imagine being a visitor here over 100 years ago. Something has changed, but much remains the same. Glacial till. Rocks, gravel, and other sediments deposited by glaciers. Vent hole. The opening at the top of the cave. Waterfall. The cooler water flowing down to the back wall of the cave lowers the temperature of the water in the pool and dilutes its mineral content. The waterfall is regularly monitored since it may be slowly eroding the cave. In 1885, a small area around Cavan Basin Hot Spring was protected and became the core of the first national park in Canada. More than 130 years later, millions of people visit park each year. They come to experience natural beauty, outdoor adventures, and iconic wildlife, from grizzly bears to Banff spring snails. Snail on the brink. The Banff spring snail is extremely hardy but also extremely vulnerable. It lives only in thermal spring of Sulphur Mountain, and natural disasters such as drought or a flood could wipe out the world's entire population of the Banff spring snail. Vandalism, illegal swimming, tossing coins or garbage into the water, even simply touching the water, all these activities disturb the snail's precocious hold. The town of Banff is surrounded by mountains, but the town has one smaller mountain that in the center that boasts a popular hike and has sparked many conversations about its name. Tunnel Mountain. So-called Tunnel Mountain was officially named with Canadian Pacific Railway, through they have to tunnel under it in order to complete the transcontinental railway. They found a way around it, never actually digging the tunnel, but the name became the official title of the small but impressive peak. The mountain is more than local trivia. It is an important landmark for many First Nations who frequented the area before colonization. This is a Tunnel Mountain Summit Trail. This distance is 2 kilometers one way with elevation gain of 260 meters. Tunnel Mountain is Banff's most popular summit. The Switchback Trail to this low summit provides sweeping views across the town and Bow Valley, with Mount Trundle rising dramatically to the south. This trail can be extremely icy in the winter. Hiking poles and ice cleats are strongly recommended. If you think you are short on breath now, just wait until you get around the corner. The views is breathtaking. Life goes by at a fantastic pace. We embrace this moment for overseas and share it with those around us. Savor Rocky Mountain Monument. Cascade Gardens. The Cascade of Time Gardens are a little oasis just minutes walking distance from downtown Banff. It's the perfect place to get off the beaten path and escape the crowds of Banff Avenue. The gardens are terraced into the hillside with pathways and rock steps and lead through trees and flower beds. Well, I'm talking about summertime. Several gazebos and sitting shelters make a great refuge from the hot day. Well, it was still spring there, but we enjoyed it anyway. We were able to see surrealistic creatures. How about you? Do you find anyone? Bow Valley. The Bow Valley Parkway provides visitors with a scenic, convenient and leisurely road between Banff and Lake Louise, and a quieter alternative to Trans-Canada Highway. Did you know that Bow Valley Parkway was the original road linking Banff and Lake Louise in early 90s? The nature of traveling is such that the more you travel, the more you wish to travel. So, we will see you again.